Good morning, everyone. Today is Thursday, May 6th, 2021. My name is Karen Bodenschatz. I serve as Associate Pastor at First Lutheran Church in Onalaska, Wisconsin, and this is my morning musing. So friends, it happened. They emerged. It was Saturday. There was no mistaking it because it was loud. You're wondering what emerged, I'm sure. Up from the mud of the ponds, the frogs came. Here in the valley, we have a couple of ponds, and apparently in the wintertime, the frogs go into the mud, and I think they must hibernate down there. And then when it gets warmer, they come up out of the mud in the spring, and they want to, guess what? Make babies. And so in order to do that, they have to talk to one another. I don't actually know how many frogs live in the mud and then the ponds, but it sounds like millions. I cannot describe enough how loud the frogs that live in our ponds are. Think of cicadas in the south and then amplify it a little bit more. It's so loud that if you want to think, if you want to sleep, you have to close all your windows. So as I was walking on Sunday, maybe it was Monday, I don't know, I thought, oh my gosh, this is so loud, and there's frogs in the walkway, and so you got to keep an eye on because the baby frogs are so tiny. And my mom and I were walking the other day, and we were looking down at the ponds, and we could see what I can only describe as swarms of tadpoles coming up from the rocks and swimming along. Imagine those pictures we see of really large schools of fish. That's what it feels like, or that's what it looked like. And I kept thinking the other day how disruptive this is to our lives, and how disruptive spring is. I mean, we have the birds that come back, and they make lots of noise, and they demand more bird feed. We have two swans, Paris and Nicole. Some kids named them several years ago, and they come back in the spring. They go and go south to Illinois for the winter. And now, for the second year in a row, we have two mallard ducks, a mama and a papa, and they have chosen to raise their children here. I don't blame them. It's beautiful. And then the frogs, but then the trees change and disrupt my view of the bluff. I can barely see the cathedral or the shrine anymore. And so I began to think about disruption as all of this life is popping all around me. And then you know what happened yesterday? I couldn't hear the frogs anymore, which is unusual. They're usually loud for about a month. The bullfrogs start. I think the cold snap that we had, or when the temperature dropped, they went back into the mud. We'll see. I'll give you an update when they emerge again or when they start making noise again. But again, I began to think about disruption and how anytime there's a disruption, there's some sorrow around that. We don't like disruption because that usually means there's something that's changing. So our brains and our bodies don't like that. Think of the time change, or think of construction, road construction. And so there's always a change, but with disruption, there's also opportunities for growth, right? Because spring is not a bad disruption in our lives. But we have to make adjustments, right? The sun is different, the animals are different, the scenery is different, but it's all beautiful. I mean, we have some really beautiful flowering trees that smell so yummy right now. It's just absolutely gorgeous, and to see the whole world kind of green up again from the stark beauty of winter. And I began to think of that too in terms of our lives as followers of Jesus, as our lives as human beings that live in this community we call America, as human beings who have lived through and are continuing to live through a pandemic that was the most disruptive thing I've ever experienced. And what is the change what is the new life that is coming forth from all of these disruptions? I don't know the answer to that just yet. I do know I'm outside a lot more, which is fun. Now that the weather is a little bit warmer and I don't have to bundle up like the Nook of the North, as my mother would say. So yeah, that's what I've been musing about the last couple of days, is disruption and the role of disruption in our lives and the role of disruption in our social life together. I think of the Black Lives Matter movement. I think of the movement for LGBTQ rights. I think of the movement for equality with women and men, all of these things that disrupt the norm. And what does that, what new life comes from that? And in that birthing of this new life from a disruption, what am I giving up that will still bring about new life, right? Giving up things isn't always a bad thing. So what is it that I'm being called to give up in this new life? Like I said, I don't have any answers. This is just where my brain is going right now as I ponder the frogs. And now it's really disruptive that the frogs have stopped singing. So I'm a little concerned. I'm going to do some research this weekend about this. But I hope that gives you some food for thought today. Stay tuned and see where this thought process goes, because, you know, I'll probably talk about it here. Until then, be well, be kind, for Christ is with you.